You know, you can't call yourself a Rochester sports fan without knowing at least a little bit about the Rochester Royals. 65 years ago, the professional basketball team known as the Rochester Royals won the NBA championship. In 1951, the team was full of talent with names like Bobby Wanzer and Bobby Davies. But there was a limited audience in this upstate sports market, and as the professional basketball league got bigger and bigger, Rochester seemed smaller and smaller. So the owner, Les Harrison, ended up taking the team to Cincinnati, then to Kansas City, and now the team is the Sacramento Kings, based in California. You know, but the glory years were 1945 to 1957, and that's what we're focusing on today with Kelly Spampinato. No, she's not a sports broadcaster. She is a third-year museum studies major at Rochester Institute of Technology. Thanks so much for joining us. And her associate professor, Julie Decker, part of the team that put together an exhibit called When Rochester Was Royal, professional basketball here in Rochester. So, Julie, tell us how this exhibit came together. Why did you want to put together this particular theme?
Sure. So, thank you for having us, Rebecca. We're glad to be here. So, the way this project came about is we are part of the faculty collaborate together to do an initiative called Exhibitions Across the Curriculum, which is a way for us to take content and historical context and bring it into our program and museum studies. And then we also work with other faculty members, both in museum studies and history and visual culture, to create an exhibit that might speak to lots of different majors and lots of different interests on campus and in the community. So then we came to this exhibit by actually looking at Rochester history through the lens of history and basketball. And Dr. Rebecca Edwards, who is chair of the history department, was contacted by a sports collector and a fan and an advocate. And he said, you know, I have a lot of photographs. What can you do with these? And she said, well, we could create an exhibit. And then that sort of started the ball rolling, and we talked and we conversed together with...
And timing is everything.
Timing is everything, yes.
So the exhibit can be found in the Sunken Gallery on the Wallace Center second floor. I've never been there myself, but we have a link with information and directions how to get there, and we'll go to that in just a bit. But Kelly, you're the student doing a lot of this work, so how much research did it take? You know, you've got these photographs, but you have to kind of know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Were you a big basketball fan?
I actually, before this exhibit, was not at all. I have a newfound appreciation for basketball after knowing this. I always knew the Rochester Royals were
part of our history,
part of our Rochester history, but I didn't know much about them. And a lot of research and a lot of work went into it, not just myself, but my entire class. I probably did 15 to 20 hours worth of research. Between everyone in the class was hundreds of hours of time and effort and research that's gone into it.
All right, so let's give everybody a little bit of a preview. So, Julie, we have some of the visuals that you kind of sent us so we could show our viewers, and maybe we can kind of describe, you know, obviously there's the big team that won the big championship.
So what we've done with the images is we've curated content to go along with that. So we have a sequence of timelines of photographs for every year of the team, from 45 to 57, and then we have, in tandem with that, photographs like this that give a really great context of the players in action, or in this case, Les Harrison, who really is the star of the show. He's the brains behind bringing a team to Rochester and then making it an official NBA team. So we have a whole entire case devoted to Les Harrison and his history, Bobby Wanzer, Bob Davies, Al Servey, a number of these players who became remarkable talent in the field of the NBA. And then, you know, they started earlier before that, before there was an NBA as these professional level teams, but the NBA hadn't been created. And then what we did with that is we created both the timeline with the photographs and the programs from those years, but also coupled that with a few memorabilia, ephemera, so ticket stubs, postcards, other things that would sort of tell the story of the viewer, the person who went to the game. So it's not just about the stars, but it's about people in Rochester who love the sport.
And that was from the sports collector he had?
Well, a number of other people. So this is interesting. So we had sort of this root collection of photographs, and then people came to us and said, you know, my grandparents have these 4 programs. So a student in our class, and Kelly remembers this because a student in our class said, I was mentioning the exhibit to my grandparents, and they said, wait a minute. And they went upstairs, found 4 programs in their attic they've been keeping for a special moment. So, you know, be careful, like stuff that you think that you might need for an important day actually might be needed for an exhibit, and we would love to see it.
That's great. Well, and Kelly, you particularly had your hand in one of the pieces of the exhibit, and we wanted to show this because it kind of, to me, it looks like a comic book. It was kind of a cartoon. But that it was an advertisement for Wheaties. If you look at the bottom, tell us about that.
Yes, it's a comic book Wheaties ad featuring Bob Davies. I believe it's from 1954.
Wow.
We had all this content from our initial donor that was all photos and things like that, and we wanted to find some more things to kind of supplement and be a little bit different than just photos, so we'd have other things to exhibit. So I took to eBay, and I found not just that, I found a couple other things on eBay, but that was probably my favorite thing.
So
he
didn't get the box. He didn't get his picture on the box, but he got a cartoon.
Yeah.
Well, as we mentioned, timing is everything, and this Thursday, April 21st, is 65 years to the day when the Royals captured the NBA crown, and later this week, you'll be able to see the championship trophy on display. This special event. I've heard that perhaps this is the first time it's ever been on display in Rochester, which is hard to believe. But one of the part owners of the Sacramento Kings will be at that event, David Dworkin. He also owns the Rochester Rhinos, and he really wants to elevate local sports, so he's involved with this, and it's going to be a wonderful reception. It's on the 21st from 5 to 6:30. That's Thursday. Public is invited. You can walk through the exhibit, and then it does come down on the 22nd.
It does.
So you got to get there.
It does.
Again, the exhibit is called When Rochester was Royal, Professional Basketball in Rochester, 1945 to 1957. It's in the Sunken Gallery on the Wallace Center's second floor. We have a link to the information and tell you how to get there. It's all on our website, WATC.com, under web links. But I'm so glad that you could practice your soon-to-be craft.
Yes.
And thank you so much for leading our students in the right direction for museum studies. So
Thank you
Kelly
so much.
and Julie, thanks so much.
Thank you.